Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. I truly appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Yes, I do. So originally, I wasn't sure if I was going to make a video or not this week. It was kind of dependent upon how I was feeling coming home from Gen Con, how tired I was going to be. I am very tired. It was a long trip back. But I wanted to throw out my memories of Gen Con, this year's Gen Con 2023. And talk about how much of a good time that I had. Now I'm going to be splitting this Gen Con experience, my retelling of it, into two parts. Obviously, this will be part one. Part two, I'm going to actually talk about the games that I played in detail, because I actually had a run of, I think just about every single game that we played had a lot of merit behind it. But real quick, just to let you know, probably the top two, that's something that you could probably buy online quite easily or find at a store like Mind Games at the mall or something like that. Is one of them is Risk Strike. Oops, I dropped some stuff. Risk Strike, and that is a card game version of the actual game Risk, but it goes much more quickly. The game is usually about 20 to 30 minutes. And it's a lot of fun. I'm going to show you, I'm looking at my notes here, I'm going to show you a picture of this game and the other game that I want to talk about. The other game, I'm looking at my phone to, try and get the game up here, is another one, actually, I saw a while ago at Mind Games, speaking of the store, and it's called Takinoko. And it's a very, very fun game, multiplayer, again, like the Risk Strike multiplayer game, or it can be a two-person game. And it is about growing a garden for a panda and a gardener to kind of do opposite ends. The gardener grows, the panda eats, and you have goals that you have to achieve. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that these games are really worth it, and if you want to just go ahead and go online and kind of look at reviews and maybe buy them, go ahead and buy them. Please do so. Those two were really, really fun games. In part two, I'm going to talk about them in particular, or in more detail. No, I am not sponsored by anybody. I have no sponsors. If you would like to be a sponsor, let me know. But no, so none of these games, Gen Con or anything, is sponsoring me. So just let's make that clear. All right, so why don't we go ahead and start on some of the topics about Gen Con and why I had such a great time. All right, so let's start off with the organization of Gen Con, like how well organized it is. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I think I've already talked about this the last time I went, which was 2 years ago, when they were coming out of lockdown and pandemic restrictions were lifting. We still had to wear masks. There was a lot of things that were not open, like the Lucas Oil Field where the Colts play was not open. Things like that. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of the organization that I saw, which was really, really nice. For those of you who kind of watch this channel know that I had a very rough experience at Otakon, and it was due to their lack of organization, to say the least. There were many, many problems, but it kind of all falls under that umbrella of, if you're not organized, a lot of things are going to go wrong. Gen Con is kind of the opposite of that. Oh, by the way, I should mention that from what little I have been reading about this year's Otakon, it looks like Otakon has made a noticeable effort to improve. So good on you, Otakon. We'll see. I want to come back, but we'll see. But anyway, Gen Con, on the other hand, is highly organized. And, Brent Newhall and I, Brent from over at Anime Archaeology, and I noted this because we do these things, we do panels, so we're familiar with con ops processes and things like that. And of course, in my life, I've done very similar organized events like this and had to deal with some of these kinds of issues. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, as we're having fun, there's like a little part of me that's just going, oh, look at that, in terms of organization and stuff. So as I'm saying, it was very well organized. One of the first things that we came across was that we noted was that you can just walk in. Like, if you have your badge, like literally, if you have your badge, and you have your tickets. You do everything online, and you pre-order, and everything comes to your place, and you have it there, and you have it mailed to you, and you have it. You can literally put your thing on and just walk in. Literally. There's no choke points. The convention center is large enough, is massive enough, and quite frankly, so is the Washington, D.C. Convention Center. But it's massive enough that you can just walk into any number of exits or entrances, and there's no choke points, right? You walk in, there's not a whole lot. They have a different view on security. I will say that. I'll give Otakon that, because it's in D.C. They have to take security a lot differently, and so that's why we had the metal detectors for Otakon, but you don't for Gen Con, because Indianapolis is not a major, it's not the capital of the United States. Not a lot of important things are going on in terms of federal government, but there is still good security around. People are walking around periodically looking to make sure you have a badge, that kind of thing. But you can literally just walk in. Now on the first day, Brent and I, the Thursday, we probably got in there probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And as we were walking towards our first thing, which was the Battletech boot camp, which was a lot of fun, we were crossing a major hallway crossing, like intersection almost. And this woman, Gen Con volunteer worker, whatever, comes up and goes, "Stop. And we're like, okay, all right, why what'd I do? I'm sorry, kind of a thing. But then we realized that what she was doing was making sure that the line for the people who had not gotten their badges yet, or they're buying their one-day ticket, or buying a one-day ticket for some day during the weekend, and keeping the line moving and keeping the intersection clear, so that at least there's a pathway for one. So they, wait for about a couple minutes and let a whole bunch of people, a couple hundred people, walk through on that particular line to get their badges or to purchase a badge. And then they say, okay, stop. And then the person stops on that corner for that line. And then she says, okay, you guys can cross. A minute. In 60 seconds, a couple hundred people, the line moved, right? And then for the next 60 seconds, the regular people who already have the badges can move around. It's just like an intersection on a street. You wait your turn, and you'll get through in plenty of time. So as we actually had to turn left, so we were actually looking at the line, the pre-reg line, or the ticket line, and it was, and keep in mind, Indianapolis Convention Center is pretty large. So it went down a far way, and I'm willing to bet that I'm sure the line went outside at one point. I am sure it did. If you happen to be there and that happened, please confirm that or not confirm that down below if you don't mind. But still, the fact that they're just like, okay, we're going to keep this moving, we're going to keep the thing going, we're going to put people we're going to put appropriate level of bodies to manage the situation, so that the rest of the con-goers can have their experience. Chef's kiss. I mean, it worked. And I'm not saying that lightly. I mean, when I say it worked, I mean, it was like having a traffic cop at an intersection. Stop, come, stop, that kind of a thing. It worked. It was simple. So simple. So simple. So anyway, so there was that kind of nice thing to see. And, and again, I'm willing to bet that even though that line was very large, I'm pretty sure, but because of my past experience of having been in that line, but not nearly as long, because it was half the size. I should mention that half the size of the convention that year. The people working the pre-reg know what they're doing, and actually, I think I recognized 2 or 3 of them from the first time I went. So, which tells me is that they're using people who know how to use it, and having people properly manage the situation, which means that the line moves. It moves. Otakon, the lines can move. So it should be pointed out also that for the second time in the past 5 years, I think, Gen Con maxed the capacity of the overall convention center thing, which is about 70,000 people. Just to give you an idea, it's the convention center, about 3 hotels that have skywalks into the convention center because they have conference rooms and things like that. and a direct access underground tunnel to Lucas Oil Field. You'll see pictures in the video and at the end, where there's more stuff on the field where the Colts play, right? Which was awesome. It was kind of awesome. Anyway, so and to that point, while the first time I went, I would say probably maybe 40,000, 40,000 people maybe. So it felt like very, not empty, but very spacious, like move around. So there was definitely a noticeable double the amount of people there, and there was crowds and there were people moving. There was a lot of people around me, but at no point was my movement impeded by that, because of the way that they set up lines and how they do things and how they do the ticket process. And if you want to watch the last time I went, I'll describe the ticket process there. So there's movements. There's no, the only thing that you have to worry about is understanding where one of your events that you're going to is in relation to the next event, because it's such a large space that sometimes you don't realize that you have to transverse from A way over here to B way over there, and so sometimes you might not make it. Anyway, so we saw that. So like I said, a lot of Gen Con staffers around, wearing their shirts and badges, and around whenever a question was asked, somebody could answer, like had the agency to answer. Like we were like, oh, where's ConOps so that we can drop off. Brent ran a table, and I'll talk about that in a moment. A table, and we were trying to figure out where to drop off the tickets so they know what the attendance for his event was like. And they're like, we had three people just went, oh yeah, sure, just go down here. It's two hallways down, and just to hook a left, and like that. Instant gratification almost. So we went to ConOps, and this is where I really appreciated the organization for Gen Con. While I was there, Brent was, like I said, he was filling out the paperwork for his panel. He had done his panel, and he was dropping off his tickets. And basically, when you run an event, it's ticketed so that if someone comes in, you can control the amount of people that come to your event, to an event. Therefore, control the line. Therefore, control being able to manage the room. It's a highly effective way of doing things, and it also tells Gen Con if you are running an event that people want to come to. So like if you have Brent had I think 5 spaces, and all 5 spaces were filled, it tells Gen Con, oh, Brent likes to run something that people like to come to, so we will let him have a go again next year if he wants to. So great data gathering there. So you put the information. So we get to the ConOps, and I'm looking at ConOps, and ConOps is like literally a control room. There are people at stations at various places doing the specific things that they're supposed to be doing. And we had a woman, again, sitting up there, kind of the gatekeeper, so to speak. And she is there to answer most of the questions. And she did so very effortlessly. And so as Brent was filling out she hands him an envelope with his name on it, and some various information he needed to put in there, put his tickets in the envelope, hands it back to her. Boom, it's going to be entered into a database somewhere, and Gen Con's going to have that information. So that's cool thing number one, for future reference for Gen Con. So yeah, I got like a stray hair sticking up here. Static electricity. So anyway, so the second thing, while I was staying there, and by the way, this all took in a matter of 120 seconds, 2 minutes. Second thing I saw was a guy came in, he said, oh my God, I have an emergency. I got a thing that I was supposed to be running tomorrow, and I just can't do it. What do I do? Woman just said, it's okay. Here's what we need to do. Pulls out the forms, pulls out the thing, tells them what to do. Says, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. We'll make sure these people are communicated with, blah, 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 and does the thing. It's unfortunate he had to cancel the event, but by virtue of doing that, they had information readily available for those people who were going to attend his event, so they could communicate to those people as soon as freaking possible that the event was not going to happen. So they have hours and a day almost to figure out what they're going to do next if they can't do this. Isn't that nice, right? Okay, so the third thing that I saw in there, it doesn't sound like much, but I was notably impressed. She had a radio. She was in connection. Oh, that's the other thing, is that Gen Con and Indianapolis Convention Center are tight. They've been working together for years and years and years, so it's quite obvious that they're all friendly with each other. It wouldn't surprise me if they all went to each other's barbecues during the summer, right? Anyway, so she had a radio. The radio came on and said, "Hey, we're getting reports of a heavy storm coming up from the south. We're getting questions about whether or not the con is still going to go on tomorrow, and this, that, and the other thing." And she goes, and she literally looked at the radio and goes, "Oh, I got to pay attention to that." Turns over and starts working on the computer going, "No, we're going to be open, but just in case, here are the policies of the blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, because I got to tell you, my last con ops experience at Otakon was basically me yelling at someone to get Brent a pass so he can do his freaking panel, and then being given a piece of paper with 2 squirrels stamps put onto it in a squiggly line saying, "Here's your pass." Night and day, right? Night and freaking day. So the organization of Gen Con is just incredible. It just really blows my mind on something that big, because that's another thing. It's 80,000 people going through a very large convention center that's connected to a football stadium, a professional NFL American football stadium, and hotels. And you're dealing, so that's the other thing, is that you're dealing not only with the Indianapolis Convention Center staff, you're also dealing with the staff of the hotels, you're dealing with the staffs of the people who run Lucas Oil Field. So it's kind of like, how organized? You have to be organized, right? You have to be. So it always blows my mind whenever I look at like beginning numbers of a convention. And for Gen Con, it was like 420 people, right? 426 people, I think it was the number. And now it's like maxed out at 80,000. To that point, one of our Uber drivers, as you know, we were going from the place, the Airbnb we were staying at to the convention center, told us that they are actually, and we got confirmation of this, that they're going to be building a couple more large 800-room hotels, because Gen Con and another convention, which I forget the name of, that does equally as well, are saying, "Hey, we're going to outgrow and we really want to stay here." So the city said, "Yes, of course, because we figured out that you bring in," wait for it, $80 million. $80 million over a 4-day period for the city of Indianapolis. Yeah, they're going to build a couple more hotels. Of course they are. It's more money, of course. So kudos to Gen Con for being such an organized event. That level of organization makes things like that so much more enjoyable. It makes things easier for the con goer, and clearly you folks at Gen Con have a love for what you're doing, and again, chef's kiss on your organization. Mwah. So let me give you an overall feel of Gen Con. Gen Con, in terms of demographics, in terms of age group, is pretty much all ages. There was a crap ton of families there. This is definitely a family-friendly event. Yes, there are sexy things that happen. Yes, there's some ecchi things out there. But all in all, this is about gaming. And it's about board gaming. It's about role-playing. It's about a little bit of online gaming. But it's mostly about interacting with people and doing the thing. So there's a lot of families, a lot of friends. I noticed like a lot of groups that would, like, they made their own little t-shirts for their own groups because they've been doing this for years, and they're like, "Oh, we're the such and such people, and we've been doing this for 28 years," and whatever. And so, you know, it's one of those conventions where age does not freaking matter. If you play a board game, you are welcome to come here, literally. So it's a very open environment in terms of that. It is a great place to see imagination at work. It's a great place to see imagination put to a game that somebody can play. And it runs the gamut from good games to bad games. There are bad games out there, but it runs the gamut of saying, "Hey, if you like to play a game, here you go." And so when you go there, you're with like-minded people. Everyone has a good attitude. The vibe is always positive. Like, you don't really see that many people like sitting against the wall going, oh my god, I just can't. We did find a couple of people, but we believe that was due to overstimulation, if anything else. So it's not like you see an exhausted congoers just slumped against the wall somewhere. So it's a fun atmosphere, and it's made to be fun. The city immediately around the entirety of the convention center, as I described the convention center, the hotels and stuff, all the restaurants get into the act. It's just like what used to be at BCC up here in Baltimore, when the restaurants around us would be like, oh, here's the Otakon deal, right? It's same idea. It's oh, you go to Gen Con, well, if you do this, then you get that, So the city really plays it up with Gen Con. It was very, very just, immediately as soon as you walk in, everyone's kind of just smiles, right? Kind of the thing. So is there anime at Gen Con? There is, actually. Kind of. That's the best way I can put it. So when you see the video, you'll see what I mean. So when we walked in there, the first thing that was greeted to us is this huge sign, and it's meant to be in a One Piece anime card game, I think, and but it really looked like My Hero Academia. It just, someone said, oops, we made the wrong anime, quick, put a straw hat behind the guy. That's literally what it looked like. But when you go in there, most of the anime stuff is game related, so it's going to be card games, maybe a board game. We actually played a Cowboy Bebop board game, which I'll talk about in part 2. So anime is there. There is a part of the convention center that deals with that. It's very small, and it's in the Westin Hotel. So you walk through, you can either cross the street or you can walk over in one of the skywalks, covered skywalks, and go into the Westin Hotel. And there is a viewing room, which is very structured. You kind of, have to, actually, it's not like Otakon where it's just like, oh, it's scratched out line, they're not showing this, not showing that. No, they have a definitive schedule, and they keep to it. There is a small animation block. There is a small animation contest that they run every year, award ceremony for that. And there's a meet and greet for those animators. So you're not going to see voice-over guests in the anime section. If anything, you might see them over in the rest of the convention if they happen to have a game that their voice is in. So it's very small. It's very, it's there to scratch your itch if you need to have that itch scratched. There is not a whole lot of, this year, we noticed that there was not a whole lot of anime cosplay. Also, we noticed that there was not a whole lot of Genshin cosplay. Last time we went, we saw a little bit of anime cosplay, and we saw a lot of Genshin cosplay. So read into that what you will. But there were still people, and you'll see me showing pictures, movies, games, things like that, characters from games. So there is some cosplay going on. So the way that it kind of works is that you have the main convention center, which has, in the rooms, that's where you have some of the specific demos, some of the panel discussions, and some of the places where you do specific RPG games. A lot of the hotel conference rooms do that, so if you run a game like Brent did, you'll be in one of those conference rooms over there. Then you have a huge hall, one of the big halls, where it's gaming demo, and that's where we played BattleTech Boot Camp, which was a lot of fun. We were able to jump in on that. That was a ticketed event, so we just learned how to play BattleTech, and we had a great time, and we're looking to continue playing that game. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Warhammer, only not so much expensive miniatures. Is the best way I can describe it. But it's a lot of fun. It's very intensive, and I'm glad I went through the boot camp so I could learn how to do it, because otherwise it kind of may be a little intimidating. The system mechanics can be a little intimidating, but it was a lot of fun. And in these halls, you have a lot of new games that can be demoed there as well. Now, the next hall over is, of course, the dealer's room. And the dealer's room here is huge, just like it would be for Otakon. And it's gaming, it's dice, it's related tchotchke to that. Like there was one stand where, like, if I knew how to do calligraphy, I would definitely have bought a set, because they were just, the calligraphy sets were just so beautiful. I was like, I just wanted one anyway. So But that's where you can buy a lot of the games that you come across that maybe you demoed out there, and you go, oh, I really like this game, I'm going to play this. And quite often, many of the vendors will say, we'll have a little table, and if it's empty, they'll say, you want to try a couple rounds? And you get to go in and you try out the game, and if you like it, maybe you buy it. Again, this is more interactive in terms of it's not somebody standing behind a huge thing of anime DVDs or comic books or anything. It's like a table, their thing, and people stand on the other side of the table sometimes and like pitch. They just, hey, what do you think? Does this look cool? Yeah? Well, let me explain it to you. Do you got a minute? A Barker almost. But again, everyone's kind of polite and things move. Like there's no real jam-ups. Right. Periodically, somebody will stop it because they're taking a picture or kind of reorient themselves because it's easy to get lost in there. But most of the time, I was able to get from A to B fairly quickly. The artist alley, or they don't really have an artist alley, but there's a section of it where there's authors, or people who are selling their own books, self-published books, which is always kind of interesting to me. And then, of course, the art. Oh my goodness, some of the artwork that you see there. And that's another thing about board games. You will see fantastic artwork. Like there were games where I just wanted to plunk down $50 just because the box was so freaking beautiful. I mean, it's so beautifully rendered. And of course, there are other related things and fun things. Like there was one vendor that had pulp fiction books, and not in them as in the movie, but the actual pulp fiction. And I'm going to talk about it because it's part of my swag. And from anything from that to the actual games themselves, and yeah, it was just such an eclectic thing. And yes, there was an anime booth. Yes. And of course, this is where you can kind of get animated related things. Of course, Pokemon was there, Digimon game was there, those kinds of things you can always find there. But there was a large-ish anime stall that we're here for gaming, not for anime, because last time we did that, we actually bought anime at a gaming convention. So we opted not to do that this time, but they were there. One of the more notable vendors, they specialize in the old stuff. Like they have the first edition Monster Manual or something like that, and it's just really cool to see one of the original chainmail, which is what Gary Gygax made prior to D&D, was the inspiration for D&D. And, like this little booklet inside of a Ziploc bag goes for like $695. Who knew? Anyway, so if you happen to have chainmail somewhere in a box somewhere in your basement, you might want to take a look at the condition of it because it might be worth a pretty penny. So anyway, so dealer's room was very, very nice. So if you're doing an RPG game, like a role-playing game, like I said, there are specific rooms for that, and there's usually a number of tables inside. And some of the rooms, like the Dungeons and Dragons rooms, are huge, and there's plenty of tables, and there's plenty of campaigns to play. So there's you won't have a problem finding a place to play Dungeons and Dragons there. But if you're more specific, or you have more specific RPG games, or in Brent's case, you have your own game that you've created and you want people to play, you can go into the hotels and they give you smaller conference rooms. So there's like 6 or 7 tables. You can have up to 8 people at a table. We had 5 at the table, and I was only going to be there for like first little while, and then I was going to go off and do my own thing. But I had such a fun time watching people play his game, which was called Whispering Road, a kind of Ghibli based kind of game, and watching people get into it, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I actually was able to throw in my own 2 cents every now and again. So next year, I think I'm going to join in on that. Maybe probably his game, Whispering Road, maybe something else, I don't know. But definitely his game. So yeah, it's just easy. It's just like, so if you like role-playing games, you're going to be in a great place. So then if you want to go to another part of the convention, which is where you actually play the games, like the board games. Like you can go, I've talked about this before, where you can go into a room and there's this lines of board games that you walk in, you show your badge, you sign up for X amount of hours, usually like 4 hours at a time, and you come in and you just go up and you one at a time, you can take a game. check it out. You bring it to the table, you open it up. There might be a little card that says a couple pieces but still playable, or it'll be fine. And the idea is that you play it right there with whomever you're with, or if other people want to join in with you. So one half of the football field, oh, by the way, it's covered by thick plastic to protect the grass. So the second half is that, and that's where part 2 of Gen Con, when I talk about Gen Con, part 2 is going to be about those games that we played. It's a very simple concept, organization wise. You check it out, you play, you bring it back in. Everything's contained, so it's not like you leave the area, right? So yeah, I mean, we spent probably 10 hours gaming, just doing that on Saturday, I think. Now the other half of the field, which has actually preceded the checking out of the games, was the actual championships, and we got to see the end of I think it was a Digimon championship, which was really kind of intense. But those were the actual championship games are played right there. Food is not hard. Food is definitely not hard at Gen Con. Some places obviously are going to be easier than others. If you leave Gen Con and you try to go to the restaurants, kind of time it right. Time it before when everybody else leaves, to eat dinner. Like if you're going to eat, if dinner's 5 o'clock, maybe you should get out there by 4. If it's lunchtime, noon, maybe eat by 11. Because those things fill up pretty quickly. But on the inside, there are plenty of places to buy food. And if you don't really care about what you're eating and you're just eating so you don't pass out, you can always walk over to Lucas Oil Field, where there's almost nobody in line to get a bratwurst, a hot dog, or nachos, and a soda. Right, that's it. They do have food trucks. So the food trucks actually have an area with which to operate. And you can go out there, and there's probably, I want to say, off the top of my head, I think there was 20 food trucks to choose from. Yes, 20. Now, we're not talking like 2 or 3 on the street outside of Otakon at midnight. No, this is an actual thing. Like Otakon says, no, we're taking this parking lot, we're blocking it off, and Gen Con just says, this is kind of our food court, right? Eclectic food court. There you go. And they have a seating area, which is really nice. So food is not hard. You can eat there. It's expensive. Yes, very, very expensive. But, again, this is one of those things where it's just kind of like everything you do is going to be expensive down there. So do it more to convenience than anything else. So yeah, so it's the feel of Gen Con is just wonderful. It's just a nice vibe to have. And again, watching people RPG, I haven't done an actual RPG in that manner in quite some time. Usually it's been online or just like, with a handful of friends. So next year, like I said, I think I'm going to do Brent's Whispering Road. Maybe play in the game. It just seemed like a lot of fun. So yeah, Gen Con in general is a lot of fun. So let's talk about swag. Here's my swag. So I got swag. Because when you go to a convention, you always get swag. Now, I'm limited by the fact that, of course, I have to get to Indianapolis and leave Indianapolis by air. So I am limited in what I can get. We were toying with the idea of Brent and I, going in on a box of games, but we wound up not doing that. In terms of shipping, we wound up not doing that. So I could only get what I can carry on. I didn't have check-in baggage. I had only carry-on luggage. So this is what I got. So again, love going into where the authors are and where the artists are, and they have all these wonderful books that you can kind of look at and check out, and it's interesting things. And excuse me, I was looking at one, and it had a couple authors that I'm familiar with. Sherry Mitchell, what was that? Scott Burtness, and of course they threw H.P. Lovecraft in there for why not. So it's an anthology of the damned. I like horror stories, and the guy was there who put the thing together, got his signature on there. Isn't that cool? So yes, anthology of the damned, and the press was I don't know if you can read that or not. But boom. Probably can't read that. But anyway, this is the author. So looking forward to reading the short stories in this. So I was talking earlier about the Pulp Fiction area. So this guy had like, back catalog of Pulp Fiction, of old gaming magazines, video game magazines, things like that, indie kind of gaming pamphlets and stuff like that. So there was one particular book that I saw there that the title was so ridiculous I thought I had to have it, and by Saturday I said, if it's there on Saturday, then it was meant to be, and it was there, so I bought it. I'm going to take it out of the little bag. And these Pulp Fiction books are sold at, like, I think one of them it was 40 cents, and the one I'm pulling out is 60 cents. Back in the day, they were $10 a piece. But, when you see the title, you'll understand why I had to have this. It's a book by Andre Norton. It's The Sioux Spaceman, Beware the Horsemen of the Stars. I mean, how can you not, right? How can you not? How can you not? So let's read the back here. Katie Whitehawk had 2 strikes against him in the space service. First, he had bungled his assignment on the planet Lodi. Second, he believed all creatures had a right to freedom and dignity, and having such opinions was strictly against the rules. But when he was assigned to Chlor, he found the Akini, I think I said that right, there, tortured yet defiant slaves of a vicious tyrant race. Right then, Katie swung at the last pitch. For rules or no rules, the Sioux Spaceman knew that he had to help these strange creatures. The Sioux Spaceman. Because why the hell not? So I'm thinking that there's a strong possibility that I will be reading this book as a narrative and putting hopefully some imaging to it on a separate channel that has Misui's story. And so I will let you know if that's what I decide to do. But it is so over-the-top ridiculous, I had to have it. So the other thing that I got was more of a nostalgic factor for me. So my grandmother was a huge Edgar Rice Burroughs fan, I think. And because she had quite a few of these books laying around. And I remember one distinctly. So this is Edgar Rice Burroughs, author of Tarzan. And it's At the Earth's Core. So, I had to get it. I had to. So, I'm looking forward to reading it. So, let's read the back here. Edgar Rice Burroughs, At the Earth's Core. When David Innes and his inventor friend pierced the crust of the earth in their new burrowing device, they broke out into a strange inner world of eternal day. A world back in the Stone Age, where prehistoric monsters still lived and cavemen and women battled against fierce inhuman masters. The story of what these two men did in that new world of Pellucidar make At the Earth's Core one of Edgar Rice Burroughs' most outstanding bestsellers. My grandmother had it. That's good enough for me. The thing that dropped. Let me pick this up real quick. So this is what kind of like what the BattleTech Boot Camp kind of thing looked like. Taught you how to play, and there's a little sheet that we worked off of, and you'll see pictures of us playing that. So the other funny thing that you walked around was that there was a newspaper bin where you could pick up a newspaper, and you go, well, what's so special about that? Well, it's because it's the Gotham Times. The headline is Harley back at Arkham. Former supervillain resumes role as city psychiatrist. Now, there's a video game coming up, and this is part of the promo. So, here's the thing. It's an actual newspaper. So, it actually has benign stories in there with names that you recognize from Batman, whether it be the animated series, the books, whatever. But there's things in here that, like, it talks about controversy over historic city monuments. It's an actual article about a city monument. Drought conditions. It's an article about drought conditions in Gotham. You know, talking about people getting elected. Editorials. Catwoman shelter goes viral. Rescue viral. An article about Catwoman rescuing kittens. Fake ads, the whole 9 yards. So this is an actual... Oh, Big Belly debuts Burnley Gastropub Brouhaha. Yeah, it's just really, really kind of interesting. And then in here, as you're reading these like sort of legit articles naming certain characters, you're like, oh, clearly something's going to go on with these guys. There's a little thing here. There's a half-page ad, and it goes, ha 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 ha. See the world like me with Joker Vision, and there's a QRC code, which I have not done yet. All right, so that's what it looks like. So we're going to run a little experiment here. For all I know, I'm going to download a virus onto my phone. I'm not sure. We shall see. All right, let's get the QRC code up. Get the reader up. There we go. Oh, wow. Infinite rabbit holes. Joker Vision. App Store. Free demo. Experience the world of Batman like never before through the eyes of the Joker. Download our free app now and watch Gotham City spring to life in amazing augmented reality. Oh dear. You know what? We're going to save this for another video. I'm not so sure about this. I'm a little leery. It's literally the Joker. Okay, so maybe next time, maybe next video, we'll actually finish up with the QRC on that. So anyway, you know, fun stuff that you see around the convention. So again, talking about swag, talking about you know, artists doing wonderful things. We found this little American Japanese young lady, and she made this wonderful Genshin art. And so we, you know, of course, couldn't buy the full posters because we really weren't going to be able to travel with her or send it or whatever. But we found these Zhongli cards. Yes, so if you play Genshin Impact, you know who Zhongli is. So here's one. Isn't that nice? And then this other one where it's him at the Kite Festival that was celebrating the death of Rex Lapis, which if you're a Genshin fan, you know what that means. Alright. Cool stuff, right? So, that was kind of nice. That was kind of cool. Some more swag I got. I actually got a card game. Some of you might know this anime. Agaretsuko, Work Rage Balance. Looking forward to play this. I haven't played this yet, but it looks like a fun game. I do enjoy the anime. So we'll see how well this goes, and I'll let you guys know. So one of the first thing I bought actually at Gen Con, just because I saw it, I was just like, oh my god, it's so useless, but I have to have it kind of thing. And so of course Dungeons and Dragons, you know, with their infinite amount of swag that they make, have these things called Dicelings. And so it's a 20-sided die, okay? It's a large 20-sided die, but it transforms into a beholder. Haven't taken it out of the package yet. So, yeah. So, let's see how well this I literally, this is the first time I'm taking it out of the package. Wow. Alright, so that's taped. That. Do that. Sorry, tape is being difficult. Oh, there's a QRC code on this too. Okay. So, alright, so it comes in, you know, take the thing out, wrapped in paper, open it up. Oh, it's got a little bit of heft to it. Got a little bit of heft. It is plastic. It's hard plastic. Like I said, it's a 20-sided die, right? So let's see how we open this. How do we do this? How does this open? Oh, wow. Okay. So, got it. Oh, wow. All right, we open them up, and we pull that paper out. Wow. Oh my God. This is so cool. Sorry. Geeking out here. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so he swings out, and these come out a little bit. So, wow. There you go. A little beholder just for you. Wow. That is... Oh, there's more. Right. Yeah. Okay. Oh, dear. This is a level of awesome I am really enjoying. Wow. Eyes in the back. There you go. If it wasn't for the fact that it was the twice-sided die, this thing would be absolutely useless. But I love it. So, yeah, there we go. So it transforms back into, and you snap it shut, back into a 20-sided die. There we go. So, what's the last thing that I got? So the last thing I got, and this is kind of the crown jewel of the swag that I got. So we're all familiar with the video game Cyberpunk. It you know, with Keanu Reeves and the infamous patches, but with a really good anime Cyberpunk Edge Runners, right? And it harkens back to the actual RPG game that I used to play in college way back when it first came out. So that kind of tells you how old I am. So it's been years since I've actually been able to find a copy. And this is the closest thing I've been able to find to that original copy, which is Cyberpunk, the classic role-playing game of the dark future, 2020, the second edition. So not quite the first, right? It's a slightly different edition, but man, it's Cyberpunk. How can you not, right? How can you not? So, yes, I got Cyberpunk. Finally found it, or at least a available version of it. So that's going to be it for this video. It's been kind of a long video. Again, part 2 is going to be coming up next week. I'm going to talk about the games that I actually played, because I want to talk in detail about each one of them, because each one of them, most of them were like really, really fun. I also want to talk about the ones that I recommended to you in more detail, so that you have a better understanding about why you should actually care about them and want to buy them and play them. And that's kind of the whole point of Gen Con, is to game and to find new things and new friends, right? Gen Con is a very, very friendly place. Anyway, so yeah, so that's going to be it. I'm going to show you a little video, you know, just a little con video of stuff that went on, and you'll see some pictures and a little bit of video of the various things and stuff that you can experience at Gen Con. So thank you so much for watching. Glad that you guys are okay. So be good, be well, and love you guys, and I'll see you next time for Gen Con Part 2, The Games.